What's up, everybody? Your boy P. Welsh here, bringing to you UFC Fight Night from the Apex. Taira versus Park. Coming off a Buns 4-8 week. I'm sorry about that. Gonna try and finish up strong here. Bounce back. Usually what we do. Starting off with Pereira Rodriguez in the women's strawweight bout against Katlin Sousa. 10-2, coming off a win versus 15-5, coming off a loss for Sousa. And yeah, what a doozy to start us off in the Apex. Sometimes the women's fights have been surprising us here, but I think this is one-way traffic for Rodriguez. I think it's Rodriguez by decision. I think she's a better striker as long as she doesn't get taken down. She has wins over some pretty good fighters, and she was crushing Carnelossi before she had literally headbutted her twice. Lost to Robinson is not good, so I think Pereira really gets it done. I think she controls top game. I have her getting the decision, but I really do think she can sneak in a finish here, something ground and pound. Even a club and sub, just potential on the position for Sousa. Now, the women's fight here has the thing about Sousa is she can get taken down, and then that's it, right? The loss to Angela Hill, she got taken down in the first round, and then didn't really, take her down too much more. So if Pereira Rodriguez keeps that, then I think she'll be fine. I think she'll take it home, and I think eventually she'll just work it for 15 minutes and catch the dub. Throw some ground strikes, control position, not submission. I think Rodriguez by decision here is how it's gonna start off. Even though these women's fights, I'm telling you, the narrative has been shifted here this calendar year, man. A lot of stuff has changed. There's been a lot of finishes in women's fights, and it's just not automatic go to the decision as it used to be. So anything can happen. Look at Ricci last week versus Hebas. So I like Rodriguez here. Are gonna just stick with it and move on. Let's see how the fight goes. Next up, we have a flyweight in the men's divisions. Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Boons. Estevam 13-0 against Boons 14-7. 1 inch reach on the height advantage. Same on the reach. 1 inch on the legs for Boons. And this one I'm kind of going back and forth on. I think Estevam is definitely the clear choice here. I think he can win. I think he's gonna control the fight, but Boons is really tough, dude. Like, he's not just gonna roll over and get finished. Like, I think he came in against Van. I want to say he was on short notice too, and I mean he was tough. Really, caught him at the end of the round. But I think this is Estevam by. I don't know if he gets the finish here because I think Boons is really tough. I think this one can go to the decision, get a little wrestling in there. I really should go check out. I'm working on a round robin. I can't remember what I put for this fight because I do think he can get a finish here, but I also don't necessarily think Boons is one of those guys that is just Estevam just hasn't finished anybody. Not finishing Aguilar and Johnson. Those are tough fighters. Don't get me wrong, good flyweight fighters. But does that mean so is Boons, in my opinion. Boons. I can't talk, so forgive me today. I had to restart the video like 4 times. So moving on to the featherweight bout. Austin Bashi versus John Giannis. Bashi 13-1 coming off a loss versus Giannis 19-3 making his debut. And this Bashi's a big favorite here. Bashi an under 2.5 potentially. I mean, I'm not completely sold on him. Christian Rodriguez is way better than Giannis. Giannis making his UFC debut. Christian Rodriguez a certified veteran, but I think Bashi under 2.5. Quick one. Actually, this is the first fight of the night. Not Rodriguez and Sousa. At least maybe the card gets flipped around. I don't know exactly. Should have checked if everybody made weight, but at this point we're just rolling. Get the video out. I like Bashi here under 2.5. I think Giannis making his debut. Unless these guys come in with super big esteem, it's gonna be hard to kind of like want to pick them in a big upset. Potential's always there, but I think Bashi's a real deal. I think he's a big prospect and super young and super. I mean, when you go against Rodriguez as that young and don't get finished, Rodriguez can finish some people too. He's a very good fighter. Bashi, let's go, baby. Next up, middleweight bout. We got Nick Klein, 6-2, coming off a loss versus Andre Puliev, 9-3, coming off a loss. 3 inch on the heights for Puliev, 1.5 inch on the reach, and Klein's got a little bit on the leg kicks. And I'm Not sold on Klein at all and anything, and I think Puliev is pretty dang good. Yeah, again, you go against some Chris Leroy Duncan to the decision. Like he's a beast, bro. He's a beast. I think this is a way different competition. I think Puliev can win knockout. I think he can win decision. I think he probably knocks out Klein, but I think Puliev gets it done here. Small octagon. I'm not sure how many finishes we see here today. I think we'll see a good amount. I don't know if all of them will go there. I think we'll see only a handful of finishes. I think by some of these guys that man, I just can't see some of these fights going 15 minutes like this one. That's why I think Puliev gets the knockout. I think he probably gets it second round knockout or something like that. Second round finish even. I just really think that Klein is just hasn't really been tested like that. In his first fight as a loss, what's his skill like? I think Puliev is probably way more skilled of a striker, way more skilled as a martial artist, and as and has some more, even ground game to him with multiple submission finishes. So, he's going to be doing damage, getting in good position, get Klein on the ground, and look to get him out of there. Puliev here inside the distance. Let's go lock it in, baby. Next up, we got middleweight bout. Rodolfo Vieira, 10-3 coming off a loss versus Tresean Gore, 6-3 coming off a loss. 6 foot stands both men, 2-inch reach for Gore. And yeah, that's why this is like kind of like the yin and the yang, right? Like the last fight I see the finish. This one I could see going 15 minutes, and that's where I'm kind of like leaning towards. I think Vieira with his grappling, it might have some success, and if he does, could be on his way to submission. But in these bigger fighters, somebody like Gore is super strong and can get up way easier. So with that pathway being said, if this is on the feet a little bit more, I also think Vieira has slightly better of an advantage. I don't think these guys will go for super massive amounts of output, and I'm not sure if anyone. I think these guys are both pretty tough too. I know a lot of Gore's fights end in finishes. He doesn't really go to the distance, right? Not at a large clip, but when you watch that Marco Tulio fight, you do not expect Vieira to throw volume and accuracy like Tulio was. My man was clean that night. He came in there, freaking 8 minutes of just straight freaking attack. So I don't, I think he could be put into some dangerous positions. I think that, if you don't think the Tresean Gore guillotine is available here, I do think Vieira can make a mistake, and that's a crusher too. That 2 of his UFC wins have come by front guillotine. I could just see some striking from Vieira getting into some good, I think there's a good amount of cage hugging here a little bit of grappling, and then some reversals. Just a very slow paced fight. Some fights seem like they go super fast. Some fights feel like they go super slow. This is one I think feels like a super methodical fight. I could see Gore sneaking a win here, but I'm all over Vieira here. I think Vieira by decision. I think this one just somehow goes 15 minutes a little bit. Like, in terms of where the advantage is for Vieira, I don't think the time will be spent there. I think the time will be spent on the feet, where it's probably more even. But the thing about Gore is he just does no volume, bro. He just kind of is, dude, you just watch him. He's just not much going on. So, I'm going with Vieira here. I think Vieira by decision. I think he can control the fight for a lot. I think it's probably 30-27, and Tresean Gore's pathway to victory is probably trying to catch Vieira on a guillotine or something, or with a massive reversal trip, get him down and finish him out of there, which I don't really see happening, but that's the situation here. So, yeah, Vieira, let's go, baby. Next up, bantamweight bout. We got Rian Nakamura 9-1 versus Nathan Fletcher, bantamweight 9-2. Both guys coming off a loss, 5'7", a little bit of a reach advantage for Fletcher versus Nakamura. And I'm gonna totally stay away from this fight. I don't know how to feel about it one way or the other. Man, losing to Cal Lundgren is not a good look, so you have to automatically fade Fletcher, but that's a situation where I think like Nakamura could just go walk into one. Losing to Gafarov is just such a low IQ with like no wrestling in there as well to control the fight. Yeah, I'm also not sold on Nakamura, man. So I think this one could be extremely boring. I think this one could be extremely exciting. I really don't know how to feel about this fight. The best thing is this is like I said, Nakamura didn't wrestle at all against Gaffarov, just stands there. If he stands there against Fletcher, Fletcher probably just it's gonna be better fight than if he. But for Nakamura to win, he's just got to wrestle him, take him down, and just pray that Fletcher can't get up. Like I'm not entirely sure that he can in a way like that. Maybe he can, but maybe 7 submission wins is kind of insane. But those are all in Cage Warriors. What's the Nakamura is pretty dang good, bro. But he's got to be able to wrestle, So I don't think Fletcher's. I just think this is Nakamura's. Is it another boring fight too? I don't know. This one's harder for me to pick. It's kind of like I don't really trust either of these guys in terms of fight IQ at the end of the day, especially against one another. Right? It's one thing if like they're older fighters and you kind of like know they've been in there a while, and then it's like they can just disappoint you. These guys, you don't even know what to really expect. You could probably just see something crazy happening in this fight. That's why it's a kind of a total stay away for me, because like this is one, especially in the small octagon, heart and desire, and just one mistake is going to change. Man, I don't even know. I don't know. I'm going. The pick is Nakamura here, but in terms of just like let's just watch this one, because like you said, if Nakamura takes him down, then it's gonna be a different fight. If he stands there in the small apex and wants to sling dicks with Fletcher, then we'll see what happens here. Next up, featherweight bout: Danny Silva 10-1 versus Kevin Vallejos 15-1. 4-inch reach advantage or height advantage, 2-inch on the reach for Silva. Standing 10-1 coming off a win versus Kevin Vallejos, 23-year-old prospect. And yeah, this is I mean, man, this is a great fight. And so Danny Silva, 2 decision wins in the UFC, not getting finished. Split decision wins against 2 pretty good fighters, Lucas Almeida and Josh Cooley-Bow, but Kevin Vallejos, man, is a certified stud prospect. Losses to Gene Silva in the Contender Series finals, but a couple finishes so far. And, looking, one thing he's only got 1 finish so far. And this is the one, Danny Silva is pretty tough, man. He could probably take some damage. And this is the one fight I'm looking at, and I'm looking at in UFC in general, is when you go look at the props for these guys, right? And now that we're going over fights and fights, years and years, prospects and prospects, we had Vallejos at minus 150 last time we took him for the knockout and wherever he got knocked out, right? This time he's like plus 120. And with those plus 100 to plus 120 props, I just feel super low confidence. And I think this is probably more of a, like, looking at that, the books are not laying juice on one of the probably the most likely outcomes, which means they're seeing action on and are trying to get people to bet that, right? So these are kind of things that I see that I kind of think will help the picks and the predictions over time, and just see how it traces and trends and tracks, because I kind of like Vallejos here all day, but he's been bet down from wherever he is here. I did the odds a little while ago. He was like, I think 5 something, and now he's into the 470s, 460s, possibly. Oh, he's minus 425, so he got juiced a little bit up to minus 500 and then back down a little bit. A lot of times I've been putting plus 100 method props, the method that being the best price method, and they've been not winning, right? Something else plus 350 or more wins. So I kind of think that's what happens here. I think Vallejos definitely has the advantage here, but I think it's way, with that height and with that reach, he's going to have to get in there in the pocket and do damage. I just think Silva's not just, he's very active. He's just not going to sit there and get hit, right? Significant strikes, absorb 7.6, so maybe that is a big thing, but they land a lot here too, so I think this could be way more back and forth than it is one-sided, which we saw in the first fight. And Silva's going to be able to last 15 minutes as he has in his first 2 fights. So I think that's kind of where more of the hedge is in here for me, and why I think this one goes to the decision. I just think Danny Silva is not a... And let's be honest, Sung Woo Choi is a guy to get punched in the face and finish. 4 KO losses. Like, let's be honest. That's his MO. I like Vallejos here. I think I'm actually gonna put Vallejos decision in the round robin. I'm like back and forth too, man, because I do think I do have the KO in there originally, but the more and more I break it down, I might have to switch it to the decision, just because I think Danny Silva is just, I think he's a good fighter. And he hasn't been finished. So yeah, we might just take a little, and it could be one where Vallejos wins 30-27 convincingly, but he just can't get him out there. He just can't do the damage. He takes some, one of those, and what kind of makes me think that Vallejos goes to the decision is that Gene Silva fight. And now I'm not comparing Danny Silva to Gene Silva, not in any way whatsoever, but I'm just saying since then he hasn't had a finish, and I do think that this guy is real competition. I think the featherweight, and well, this is a major. But that's why I think it could be a good time to just get some fight time in there too. Get a little bit more. You have your couple contender series. You got your first UFC fight, and this guy. Let's see how it goes. This might be the first time he gets hurt. Might even lose a round. You don't know. So we could. I like Vallejos here. I think he'll have to kind of bite down on the mouthpiece and win. I think I like him by decision now. I just don't think we get the KO. I really don't think so. I think, like I said, this is, dude, man. I don't know. This is it's one that is we're gonna have to find out. But I think the longer this fight goes, and I mean, it depends. Is Herzog the ref? If Herzog's the ref, it's gonna go the distance, right? But yeah, so this is like one of those things where I think like we expect a lot of finishes on some of these fights. I think we get a few here and there, but sometimes I expect them to be a little bit more competitive. That's where I think a lot of people get frustrated with the UFC and the decisions, and I think it's more of the 3-round format than anything else than the actual UFC and the competition. Like I said, I think if you did one 15-minute round with no breaks and no adjustments and no time to breathe with that expectation, I think you'd see a lot more finishes versus decisions, right? But you get 3 rounds, you get a minute to break, readjust, and start back squared up on the feet. I think that leads to a lot more decisions. So that being said, I think we get a decision here, right? I think we get breakup. I think we get, flurries. I think we get damage. I think we get control time. I think we get distance. I think we get leg kicks. I think Vallejos isn't going to be able to go 100 miles an hour against Silva. I think he'll try and peck him away and at least throw to keep him on defense. So I think this is more a methodical fight than we've seen from Vallejos have to endure against his opponent. But him by decision. Let's go, baby. Next up, welterweight bout. Neil Magny, 29-14, coming all loss against Ezekiel Zaleski dos Santos, coming off a loss to Chidi and Njokuani, 25-9-1. And yeah, I don't get this fight, man. I mean, Zaleski burned me last time against Chidi. I should have just picked Chidi and bet him, but he cost me bread. So that being said, I'm not on him. And I just think Neil Magny is just going to give us a boring cage fighting victory with some Muay Thai and just try and control him like Chidi did with the distance. Bro, I just don't think Zaleski has it, man. Like, he, against Chidi, man, that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from my guy. Like, I don't know about... I mean, and I'm just not sold again on him either. Like, I think Neil Magny can win a decision fight. I think Neil Magny could probably sub this guy if he gets him to the ground. I think he could do more damage to him in the clinch. I think Dos Santos' only advantage is at distance, but I think he's getting older. I don't think it's as explosive. I think the more and more damage you take, damage to Randy Brown, damage to Chidi and Njokuani, damage from Rinat Fakhardinov. Like, bro, you had wins against, Benoit Saint Denis, lost to Sakhalov, like lost to Leach. Like, he's got a lot of wars, man. I think Neil Magny, like, I think this is like a situation of old fighters fighting old fighters, and against anybody else, I would like Dos Santos here, but after that last performance, I just think Neil Magny is just, yeah, you're going to lose to Morales. Yeah, you're going to lose to Prate. Yeah, you're going to lose to Gary. Yeah, you're going to lose to Burns. Yeah, you're going to lose to Rachmanov. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, of course you're going to lose to those guys. They're just better than him. But Neil's always trying, right? He's always got that dog in him, and he's never gonna give up. So I think he has a chance to steal a 3rd-round sub like he did against Mallet, even if he's losing. I think he just has a chance to win 2 rounds against him as well and just be a better fighter, just come out locked in. I'm on Neil Magny here. It's one of my more... Again, it's more of like against Zaleski dos Santos, and I don't know if I'm going against it as like just a fan, a guy who sold bread on me, but like I'm just not sold on him being minus 200. If anything, this should be way closer. And that being said, I just think this again could be just a 15-minute cage hugging, Muay Thai fest from Neil Magny, where Dos Santos, as soon as he gets in, just gets pushed up against the cage because he has to close the distance, and Neil can just run forward on that because he's off balance, throwing strikes, and just sit him up there. And so I really don't trust the fight IQ of Dos Santos either, man. He takes a lot of damage, gets hit. So I think that being said, I like Magny here. I think Magny could get the decision win. I just don't see a finish here. I just think both these guys are more like they won't finish each other at the end of the day. Now, I definitely could be wrong there. But yeah. Let's go, baby. Neil Magny. Next up, women's bantamweight bout. Carol Hossa, 18-7 versus Nora Cornhole, 9-2, coming off a win. Hossa coming off a loss, and yeah, 8th ranked bantamweight versus the 12th ranked bantamweight. And the losses to Eileen Perez and then Aldana before that. I think that was at Noche, right? Or Covington Usman. That was a war. And then she beat Kinzad, who I think Kinzad got cut anyway, which I thought she was a decent fighter, but yeah, not on a good string. And Cornhole's the underdog here, and I'm kind of leaning her, man. I just think she's a little bit more not damaged in a way. Like, I think Hosa's just been in a lot of wars, and you expect her to do volume and damage, but I just think you'll just see more of it from Nora at the end, right? I thought she won the Cavalcanti fight too. I think I picked her, but like split decision was definitely super close. Going against wins against Melissa Mullins, I like that win. Jocelyn Edwards is a good win. Again, I thought the Cavalcanti fight was, competitive, and I like Hossa, but I think this is kind of the spot where we're going to start fading some of these favorites on the women's. Like, I really think there's a massive wave of change going on in certain situations in the UFC, and I think the women's are underdogs and finishes are way more abundant right now. So I think the favorites are, behind. I just don't see Hossa really outperforming Cornhole in terms of volume. I just see it just being somewhat. I just think she's going to be a little weathered and just a little slow, a day late and a dollar short. I think Cornhole's going to come in here with a great attack. I think the bigger octagon would favor Hossa as well here, but I think Cornhole's could even push her up against the cage and try and win the strikes there. I just think way more dangerous, and you know what Hossa's got to do. She's got to win by decision. And if she doesn't, then she loses, right? So, yeah, I'm going Cornhole here. I like Cornhole by decision. I think she just puts it on for Hossa for 15 minutes. Now, she's tough. I don't think Hossa really gets finished like that. Like, you watch that Aldana fight, and neither of those girls going down. But, and I just don't think she gets taken down. I think Cornhole just stands and really wants to. I think this is one stays on the feet the whole time. And I got Cornhole by maybe 2-1 here, 29-28. And Hossa might win the last round. But, yeah, I got Nora here. Let's go, baby. 3 fights left. Lightweight bout. Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovic. 16-5 Brenner coming off a loss. Ribovic 14-2 coming off a loss to Nyquist. And who is Brenner's loss is to Joel Alvarez. So no shame there. Alvarez is, and then he lost to Orablai, who is, again, I don't even know if Orablai made weight there. Probably didn't. And Joel Alvarez is going up to welterweight against Ribovic, who was a welterweight, and then maybe, what was that Zellhuber fight? Was that at 155 or 170? Greatest lightweight MMA fight. Okay, so it was a lightweight fight. So I thought these guys were welterweights for a minute, but yeah, Ribovic here. This is a situation here where, dude, this is a killer be killed fight. Brenner live all day, but takes massive amount of damage. I don't necessarily think his movement and his ability to dodge is there and is going to be evidence for. I just don't think he'll be able to get out of the way enough. I think he'll be able to do damage against Ribovic, and I think this is a situation when you watch even those last 2 fights, like he gets hit too. So I think they'll be able to stand in there, bang. I think he'll probably win in terms of just the exchanges in the first 2 rounds. And Brenner really has to go forward. He's always going to put it on the line. So I think Ribovic by 3rd round finish or decision is my pick for the week. Just because I just think the volume will be there. I think these guys will go for a while. They'll give us a war. I don't think he'll get him finished in the first round. Like, Brenner's just tough, dude. He's a dog, dude. So, I think he could get finished in the 3rd round, which is what the Alvarez was. But I think he's, and then he was losing 2 rounds and then beat Kutaladze. Split decisions in other fights. So, yeah, I like Ribovic by 3rd round or decision. I think he's at plus money here. I think Brenner, I'm not sold on him, bro. I just think he takes a lot of damage and he just doesn't move a lot, man. Like, All of his fights are absolute wars. I even think that Kuzalatse fight, he had a busted artery and lost 10% of his, 10% of his blood. I believe that was him. Dyed his hair blonde, shoot the box guys, Charles Oliveira. So I think Ribovic, I think this is a very close fight. I think Ribovic by decision could be 29-28, could be split decision, could get a late, depending on how it plays out. But I think this is a very back and forth fight. I think it's actually way closer than the odds are even giving us at plus 225. But just not sold on Brenner, dude. He's going to have to finish Ribovic. Like, that's my condition on him winning. Like, I just don't think he wins over 15 minutes. I just think the judges will give it to him because it's just going to be that close. Like, and I just think this time he's just not as good as Nyquist was that day. I just think Brenner's not the same in terms of just ability to dodge. Ribovic, third round, Ribovic decision. Moving on here, lightweight bout. Matthias Rebecki, 20-2, coming off a win versus Chris Duncan, 13-2, coming off a win. 5'7" versus 5'10", 5-inch reach advantage for Duncan, 5-inch leg advantage for Duncan, and this fight has recency bias all over it, bro. This is Chris Duncan is the freaking Bilal Muhammad of the lightweight division. I'm on Chris Duncan here. I'm certified on Chris Duncan, and now Matthias Rebecki won me as a fan, right? He won me as a fan against the Orablai fight. I just don't. I think it's been a good recovery time for him. Man, I just think Duncan's kind of the real deal, bro. I think Duncan's got some dog in him, dude. I think Duncan just being able to walk through something, and I think he'll just southpaw versus the way Duncan can even get him for a sub and with his length advantage. Yeah, I think he can get him down. I think I do think Rebecki is very strong, but he's also super compact. Now, he does take damage, too. He's been taken down. And I think all these things favor Duncan over the course of a 15-minute fight. I also don't think Rebecki can get out Duncan. I think Duncan is tough as nails, man. So, all this being said, in the course of 15 minutes, I kind of like Duncan's game against Rebecki. I think, again, Rebecki's super high on Orablai, and I think Orablai is overrated in terms of what we expected, and we have to also say that was a catchweight fight. They weighed 160, so that was a catchweight. Able to do and take a little bit more damage, 5 more pounds on a cut. I think really, again, favors Duncan versus Rebecki, who's, just shout out to the people who would even pick that. But what a fight. What a fight. And I think we can have another great fight here. But, yeah, I just think I think he's a dog, man. And Duncan as the dog is kind of where I'm going here. I like Rebecki, but I just think he might not be able to get out my guy. And I think if he gets punched up the middle, I think Duncan can take his back. I think he's live for a sub too. One of his losses is to rear naked chokes. You watched that. It's 1 minute. It's 100 seconds of a fight against Manuel Torres before he's choked up. You can't tell me you can't see Duncan doing something similar to that. Seeing Duncan can box, Duncan can grapple. I think Rebecki's a one-way street, man. He's got to somehow finish Duncan, and I think he can do some damage, but then he'll make a mistake. He made mistakes in that Orablai fight, too. I mean, as great as a fight it was, man. Dude, another factor when watching UFC fights is it their natural weight class that they're supposed to be in, and did they make weight, right? Like, there always should be an asterisk next to every fight that isn't a weight made by both people. And, yeah, I think that should be something that is talked about. And at least just take it into factor, like when you're handicapping it and trying to pick and preview what's going to happen the next time. I think Chris Duncan is a certified professional fighter who's going to make weight, and he's going to be a problem for Rebecki. And just the odds there, I just think he's live to win grappling, live to win KO, live to win decision, live to win at any moment in the round. I think Rebecki's going to have to out-volume him for 15 minutes and do major damage like he did against Orablai, and I just don't think Duncan's going to be there like Orablai was. And I just don't think he's as prompt and as polished as a fighter. And then let's see when he cuts the rest of that weight. He's a big guy, dude, stocky. See if he's got the condition. I think Duncan definitely could get him in the third round, too, if he gasses out having to cut the weight. Let's go, baby. Main event, flyweight bout, short notice. Tatsuro Taira versus Hung Young Sung Park. Hung Sung Park. I added a Hung Young Sung He's hung, baby. Dude might be. He's a fucking gangster. The way he rolled through Hernandez, it was cold-blooded, bro. Made me rethink a lot. And then Taira, 16-1, coming off the loss to, what was that, Royval? Not a bad split decision loss, a real war. And I think he comes back and wins a war here. I think Park's gangster, bro. I think he's really good. I was sleeping on him. I mean, this is going to be a great fight. I think Taira by decision. I think this is a 5-round banger. I think this goes fights back and forth. It might be 49-46 Taira, but I think Parks, I think he's a certified gangster. He's going to fight now. You'll see him on the last card of the year, get another win. But yeah, I think this is one that goes back and forth. I don't think he's afraid of Tatsuro Taira. I think this is way closer than the books are even giving it to us. I think he could take Taira down in the first round, but something where like the more it goes on, the more adjustments that can be made. I just think the experience and will really kind of shine for him. So yeah, I think this one goes to the decision. I like Taira by decision. I think he'll win minutes. I think he'll win moments. I think Park will also have his moments. I don't necessarily think he'll be able to win the minutes consistently. Right, throughout the fight. Like, I think he could actually consistently win 2 rounds. This was a 3-round fight on like the prelim. I think Park could sneak out a W, right? I think he could sneak out a couple takedowns. He could sneak out some control. I think he could sneak out some damage. But in a 5-round fight, I think that certifies. And with the experience that he just got, I think Taira here, I think he's going to want to win it because you're going to have to go 5 rounds against Pantoja. You know what I mean? You're going to have to be able to weather that storm and win late against Pantoja. I think that's the best win condition against him because if you watch the fights that he has struggled in, 4 and 5, he's definitely vulnerable, right? He had to win the 5th round against Urseg, the Royval fight, some of his fights. So I think that's where Taira's training, and I think he might lose a round or 2 here just to show himself some more adversity as well and trying to overcome something. And I think Park's good enough to do that. And, so I like Taira by decision, and if he is that much better than Park, he's just going to dominate. And I don't think Park gets finished, Mariah. Like I said, I think he's really clean with it. I think his grapple game, I think he's really strong, bro. I think he's really strong for 125, man. I think some of these guys coming in there, him and Lima, there's a reason that Lima-Park fight didn't happen. I wanted to stay away from one another. Yeah. So I think he's going to, he's good striking, good grappling. I think this is a great matchup for one of the guys, and this is an absolute. I was wondering how they were going to save the card, and this is an absolutely save the card. It's going to be a 5-round banger. Tatsuro Taira by decision, but Park, we're going to see an absolute star be born, dude, and he's going to get another finish against somebody at the end of the year. But man, Park's the real deal, bro. Watch him walk up. This fight is going to be tough. This fight is going to be way closer than the odds are giving us. And I mean, I like Park's chances, but I think Taira gets it done 3-2, 4-1, probably unanimous decision. I think it could be like 49, 46, 48, 47, 48, 47, something like that. Where Park wins a round clearly, might win a second round, but I don't think he wins 3. Taira. Let's do a quick recap. Hopefully we have a better. I'm feeling so good about this week too. Always coming off a rebound, it's tough. You got to just, we've had a lot of good rebound weeks. Sometimes we've had a couple bad weeks in a row, but not usually. So I'm feeling a good rebound here with Rodriguez. We're gonna have Estevim, I think, one way or the other, submission decision. Bashi inside the distance. I like Puliev KO. I think Puliev or points or Rodolfo. I think strong grappling against Gore. We're gonna pick Nakamura. We got Kevin Vallejos against a war with Danny Silva. I like Neil Magny in a big upset here. Another upset, Nora Cornhole against Hossa. Esteban Ravich late round 3 or by decision should be a great fight. I like Chris Duncan, big upset, and we're going Tatsuro Taira. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you made it this far. Leave your comments on all of your picks in the comment section. If you get all the picks right, I'll send you $100. Take care of yourselves, your friends, your family. Thank you for watching. Peace and love, everybody.